Hi, I'm Jason with bathbombmachine.com. Thank you very much for buying our B-3 Bomber bath bomb machine. We are going to show you an introductory video for owners of how this thing works and some of its features. So I'm going to go through how to connect the air compressor hose to the machine, how to adjust the air pressure and check the pressure here at the regulator, how to change from different sizes of molds and adjust the alignment plate back here, and then some other minor things about the tubing fittings. So let's get started. First, to connect an air compressor hose, you need an air compressor hose, and here's the connection on the B-3 Bomber, which is a 1/4 inch male quick release fitting. This is an industry standard, and same with the female side, is industry standard around the world. And so to do this, you slide back this little collar, see that? And that allows you to push this in. And then once it's in, you release that collar and it holds it in place. So let's try it. I'm going to push it in, release, and there you have a nice airtight seal. And if you need to disconnect it for some reason, like you're going to change molds or make any adjustment, then we always suggest disconnecting the energy source from the machine to make it safe. And that means disconnecting the air hose. So we're going to hold on to this just to secure it. We're going to slide this back and you'll hear a little puff of air. Slide back, push it on, and let that slide forward. Okay, now let's move on to the pressure regulator. There is a gauge here. We set this pressure at the factory at 100 psi, but you can go up to 125 or down to as low as about 60 and things will still work. But we think 100 psi is a sweet spot. As you increase the pressure, you have more force coming down from the piston. But should you need to make any adjustments, you can lift up on this knob, and that reveals this orange line right here. And then you simply turn the knob clockwise as you're looking down on it to increase it, or counterclockwise to decrease it. And as you turn, you'll hear air coming out, see the pressure dropping. But we're going to go back up to the 100 psi mark and lock it down. When that's down, then you can't twist it. This also has a 5-micron filter to keep particles out of your pneumatics components, and a water trap. Now, one thing about compressed air is it tends to make water drop out of the humidity in the air. So under pressure, you will get water molecules forming, or particles, and they will be caught in this little water trap down here. So to protect all the components, you want to make sure this water doesn't fill up in here and then start coming out the hoses and contaminating things. So there's a little valve here that you push with your finger, and it blows air out and it allows water to drain. Now, most of the time when you do this, you just should see a little spurt of mist, but you want to do this regularly, basically once a day or anytime you are done using the machine at the end of the day. Now, if you're in very humid climates and are using your machine constantly throughout the day, then you probably want to blow this out about every hour. And all you need to do is push it with your finger. You'll hear that air coming out. Well, the water will come out with it, and you'll see low water vapor. This pressure regulator is something that none of our competitors offer on their machines. The filter protects your components. It protects your investment. The water trap protects all the pneumatic components, and you get the confidence that you're operating at the correct pressure and the flexibility to change your pressure depending on what you're wanting to do. So now let's move on to changing molds. And before we do that, whenever we're working on changing molds, we want to disconnect the energy source. So we're going to disconnect the air from the air compressor. Okay. And right now we have a star mold partially installed here. So here's our star mold, and for this, let me turn this machine around. This is our alignment plate here, and the critical part is getting these two faces to contact the mold in the proper spot, so that as this piston comes down, this will be in the center of the star. So for example, maybe you're using a different size mold earlier, and maybe the alignment plate was set here. Well, suddenly now you're going to be hitting the top and you're actually not going to be making a bath bomb. So the trick is getting this centered over the shape, loosening these, and then bringing these in so they just contact in 2 points. And then all you have to do is just finger tighten those wing nuts, and then you can double check it, and that's going to be in the center. But now let's go to more of let's go to a sphere mold. So we're going to get rid of the star, and this tapper is part of that star, and there are 2 set screws in this mold holder, and we're going to loosen that with the included Allen wrench that came in the spare tools kit, or the spare parts kit. We give you a handful of fittings and some extra hose in case something goes awry. And if you're in Europe or any distance away from us, sure, we can ship you new parts, but if you can fix any minor issue on your own, it's gonna be done much quicker, right? So, whoops, our standard sphere molds are 3 pieces, and you'll notice they have a floor. Some mold designs from our competitors don't have a floor, and so you have to hold the lower half mold in with your fingers, so your pinkies are getting a workout, but with this you don't have to. They're supported in there. And then the upper half mold attaches to the machine. So we're simply going to pop this up in there, and we're just tightening down these set screws, and they don't have to be very tight at all. They're not supporting the load as it's coming down. They're just holding the mold part in place. But I'm going to turn this around so hopefully you have a closer view. And I'm just going to loosen this up and move this out of the way, so we're kind of starting from scratch. So we have the upper half mold attached. We're going to bring it down, which you can do easily because the air pressure is gone because there's no compressor hose attached. So that's down, and that kind of holds this in place, and then we can slide this forward again until the mold is contacted on 2 points from the alignment tool. And then we can tighten these wing nuts down, and then we go back and check it. So let's lift this up, pretend we're putting our mix in, put it up against the 2 points of the alignment guide there. Look at that, perfectly centered, okay? So let's plug in the air hose, give it pressure, and see what this looks like. So when it's under pressure, this immediately pops up, allows you to add mixture to your mold, and then you have 2 buttons here. And we have a special, what's called a 2-hand no tie-down safety system in these circuits here, and it measures the timing of when these buttons are pushed. And so this is unique. None of our competitors in this class have this kind of a safety system. So they have to be pushed at the same time to go. If you push this first, then this, it won't go. Virtually all of our competitors have simply 1 air valve here and 1 air valve here, and none of the safety system. So with their system, if you were to put a clamp on one of the valves like this, then push this, you could turn the machine into a one-handed operated machine, which means your other free hand could potentially get in the way of a very powerful moving piston. But with our machine, it's smart enough to know, hey, this has been depressed at a different time. I'm not going to fire. So the only way it will work is if you push these at the same time. Now there's some leeway. You don't have to be exactly the same time. It's not like counting milliseconds. But if you're within 1/4 of a second or less, it will go. Natural thing. So that's a huge safety feature that virtually none of our competitors offer. Let's see, what's next? We changed molds, we did the alignment. Now let's take a look at tubing fittings and how these things work. So I'm going to turn the B-3 back around. Once again, I'm going to disconnect the air compressor hose by pulling this collar back. If you notice, our machine has a lot of these orange and yellow plastic fittings all over it. That's how the tubing connects to the brass fittings inside. But should you need to make any changes with the spare parts bag that we include, it's very easy to do. So these collars actually move towards the brass fittings, and that will loosen their grip on the hose, and you can pull the hose out. So let's try that. I'm going to pull this collar back. I can see, hopefully you can see this, toward the brass fittings. See how it's compressed there? I'm going to hold that in place and then tug on the hose, and the hose comes out. Now to reconnect it, say you want to put a new fitting on or a new section of hose, this slides in the hole, and you'll feel it contacting. There's like a little resistance, and you keep pushing harder, and it'll move in just a little bit, and it'll click into place. It probably moved in about that far is all, maybe 1/8 of an inch, but now it's locked, and you've got a quick airtight seal. So again, I'll try to show that again. I'm going to push that collar toward the brass fitting and then tug out on the hose, and it comes free. And then to reconnect, you just push it in. Also, I'll show you how the extraction tool, this comes with each B-3. So once you make your bath bomb in here, this tool fits inside the hole on the bottom and lifts your mold to this position right here. So now you can grab this mold, your bath bomb's in here, you can set it on your tray. It just makes it incredibly easy and quick to access, right? It doesn't get any easier than that. So what I like to do on a sphere is I actually hold on to the top of the bath bomb with this finger until I tip it upside down, and then I let go, and it will come right out onto your drying rack. So the extraction tool works the same way with the star, but it's a little bit different at the same point. So there's a lower half mold in here, and it gets lifted up the same way. Now you can grab this base, or since this star has flat edges, you know, it's kind of hard to see because I don't have the bath bomb here, but you can just grab the bath bomb itself and set it down. It's very easy to move off of here. But again, that post just, boom, there's your bath bomb. It gives you very good accessibility. So I hope that helps. If you have any questions, you can always write us at info@bathbombmachine.com. Thank you very much again. Okay, so some other things about these molds. You'll notice they're not aluminum. This is a polymer material, which is a special type of machinable plastic. It's FDA food grade approved, and it's way lighter than aluminum. So when you're moving these things around, it's way less strain on your hands, arms, and also plastic is a good thermal or temperature insulator. So if you're grabbing aluminum all day, like think of a pop can, whether it's hot or cold, you feel the temperature of that metal, right? Well, plastic is much more insulative, and so it's not sucking the heat out of your hand all day like grabbing aluminum would be. So that insulation is a big comfort thing. There's a lot of weight savings, which is easier on your body. I also want to revisit the star mold. I've got a star bath bomb here. I just want to show you how this works. When you have this set on the extraction tool, the star is literally right here. So all you have to do is pick it up and set it on the drying rack, and then go make another one, and then your next star mold will be sitting right there. So it doesn't get much easier than that to remove a bath bomb and continue on your way. So a couple of nice things about our molds there.